it makes it better when you have a system. And the fact is, IBC is a system. It will actually free you from having to always guess how you're going to manage your cash flow. And that's another distinct difference between Dave Ramsey and infinite banking concept, is because we don't talk about budgets. We talk about the management of our cash flow.
Welcome to the WinEH podcast. This show is focused on empowering ranchers. Whether you're a seasoned rancher or just getting started, we'll guide you on how to use the infinite banking concept as an alternative way to finance your operations. It's a better way to think about money. Join us as we discuss planning for the future, attracting the next generation, and the art of keeping more money within the family. Here's your hosts, Winnie and Lacy.
Welcome in. We are back, and we're just taking a wee bit of a break from our Becoming Your Own Banker book study to discuss something that actually has come up a number of times over the past few months. Actually, it's always really come up, but it just happens to be speaking a tidge louder over the last few weeks in a couple of our different experiences that Lacy and I have run across separately. Let me give credit where credit is due. Okay. Dave Ramsey has definitely stepped up to the plate to become a leader and an inspiration and a voice as it relates to personal finance. So for that is, we should all be grateful because someone needs to, and it's hard to talk about money. Now, where I feel, and I think a lot of people who resonate with the infinite banking concept feel very differently about Dave Ramsey, is Dave's conclusions about what the infinite banking concept is. Because number one, I feel like he really hasn't taken it to really been fully informed, really taking the time to delve into it, because we just went over the human conditions.
Arrival syndrome.
He does have the arrival syndrome, right? Like he just thinks he knows it. And I'm not saying that, we could very much be construed the same way, like we think we know it. And that's not what we're saying here. But you know what? I think it's important to acknowledge that there is a fundamental difference in our philosophy. And that's really where it truly lies, right? And it's not to say that his way is better or our way is better. It's just a different philosophy. And each person has to make a decision for themselves whether which philosophy is better for them based on what they know about themselves, how they know how they will behave around money.
And I'm not here to run anybody's name in the mud either. I actually own his book and I'm not going to throw it away. And here's why. Because there's a lot of good information in there. Mm-hmm. He has helped a lot of people, and a lot of his ideas and his, I don't even know what you want to call them, techniques, his teachings, I can respect. But there's a lot of missed opportunity there too. And so the arrival syndrome, and here's the big question. How could what he teaches and the infinite banking concept complement each other? In the same way that I have the same family doctor I've had since I moved to Canada, I also see a naturopathic doctor, and they work together. They actually know each other, but that's beside the point. They work together, and what they do complement each other, even though they're on different pages as far as my medical.
Diagnosing and all that sort of stuff, and the tools 100%. Are able to use. Yeah.
But neither one of them have arrival syndrome. And that is what I think the point to be made here is that arrival syndrome, to me, what does it steal from you? And what does it hurt to add to your knowledge? What would it hurt for him to sit down and hear us out? Well, and he doesn't have to agree with it after he has that conversation. We're not forcing anybody to agree with us, but just hear us out.
I guess what's been an opportunity or a challenge for those of us that stand on the side of the infinite banking concept is when Dave, who is supposed to be also represents himself as a Christian, really doesn't it's not about slinging a person in the mud, but it's a fact. If you watch him and you listen to him, he's not often very nice.
Nope.
About
And that's
things.
why I stopped listening to him years ago, because I don't like the way he talks to people. I heard him call somebody stupid one day, and I'm like, that's it. Like, people, if we have all made financial mistakes in our lives, and nobody deserves to be called stupid.
And so for him to say things like, oh, avoid IBC because it's gimmicky and they're using financial products and it's really super gimmicky, or basically he tears us down, not a problem, without ever hearing the other side. So again, attempting to be really nice about it makes it very difficult. And what makes it also very difficult is I was actually recently at a homeschooling event, a homeschooling conference, and which is Christian-based, faith-based homeschooling event. And one of the things that I really noticed about this is that Dave has developed many relationships over the years. He has basically many of the different churches and congregations, however you want to call them, have really brought in his teachings as sort of like an option on the side, like come learn about money, do Dave Ramsey's program. So it almost like from the outside perspective, it really looks like, oh, Dave has God's blessing, which is kind of very influential, but almost like now it's like, oh, if the church accepts this and the church allows this programming to be done at the church level, what does that mean? Does that mean that whatever he says is the right way? That's dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous because, whether we are following Dave Ramsey or an infinite banking advisor, or there's a lot of resources out there and people that we can follow for financial advice, we have to remember to think for ourselves too. Take what you learn and apply it, but don't ever stop thinking for yourself. And I think that's one thing in meetings with our clients. We're here to guide you. We're not going to advise you do anything that you're not comfortable with doing. We still want you to think for yourself. We can't care about your money more than you do.
Exactly.
We're here to teach you what we know about the infinite banking concept and guide you on that journey. Ultimately, you're in control.
And to also complete my other thought and add on to what you're saying here too is Nelson also was very much a Christian. In fact, Bob Murphy, who is down in the States, who worked very closely with Nelson Nash as well, actually went to the same church as Dave Ramsey as well. So, which is quite interesting. So I'm just saying that if you are a Christian and you're saying Dave Ramsey's a Christian and they're teaching this stuff at the church, that's just the Christian way. No, let's just back that up.
It's not the only way.
Correct. Because, so let's just go with this thought. One of the first things that Dave sort of speaks out about is that he feels that whole life insurance is a bad investment. Okay. And that is a huge swooping statement to make.
It's an opinion.
Yeah, it is more an opinion than a fact. He compares them to mutual funds and says the returns are low. He dislikes the fees, the commissions, the slow cash value. He believes people are better off to actually buy term insurance and invest the difference in mutual funds, which is very much the same opinion of people who work for Primerica or work with Primerica.
And what he also has said that I've heard is well, when you get to a certain age, well, you don't need insurance. Okay. Maybe we don't need it because we've paid off all of our debt and whatever. But the piece that he's missing is the generational wealth. And it speaks in the Bible about creating generational wealth and that. And my mother-in-law, if we go back on our podcast and we find Elaine, my mother-in-law, on our giving a testimony, we hear her speak of where the Bible tells us that we are to leave some for the generations, for the next generations. And so that's really good. I don't know the verse for sure, and include it in the show notes if we need to. But that's the piece that he's missing. And especially farming and ranching, but not really. Even if you're not a farmer, you're not a rancher, if we can do something to make it better for the next generation, I think most of us parents would do that. Or, even if you don't have kids, you have nieces, nephews, whatever it might be. If we can make that road a little less bumpy, that's the piece that he's missing, is we're creating that generational wealth. We're getting our money working for us. You can also practice Dave's principles, being debt free. You can do that, but you could also do infinite banking.
Absolutely.
That's the whole thing, is like it can both be done and simultaneously work together and be so amazing.
Yeah, I do love that about Dave's thought process, because we need to continuously hear that message, especially here in Canada for sure. If you start looking at our stats, the amount of habit, or what's going on with most people spending more than what they make, we need to hear the messaging of hey, live within your means, for goodness sakes. Mm-hmm. That is so important. So coming around to him saying he believes whole life insurance is a bad investment. Okay, creating some objectivity here and just making sure we understand that the viewpoint at which he is sharing this is quite narrow, because it is not about investing. If you've completely missed the point if you are comparing it to an investment, because it doesn't act like an investment. When you actually read and start understanding what the infinite banking concept is, which is about creating your own pool of financing, right? Because our need for money is greater than our need for money at death. So again, I know it gets the greatest hump that we all had to get over, including us sharing this, is really integrating what the infinite banking concept is. And this is nothing to do with the fact that it just so happens to be a dividend paying whole life insurance contract. It just happens to meet all the features, characteristics, and benefits that contract offers, happens to provide a whole other level of terms and conditions that we are not accustomed to, that can be looked at. And that it isn't an argument of is this a poor investment or a bad investment? It's about control, liquidity,
and
tax benefits, uninterrupted compound growth. In fact, this isn't about doing infinite banking or investing. Actually, you can do both. You can actually make your money work twice as hard by doing it this way, as opposed to just buy term and invest once. In fact.
Yeah. I think what you meant to say lots of words back is our need for financing never goes away, far outweighs our need for money at death. But yeah. And I mean,
I got excited.
Yeah. It's so exciting. It's exciting to talk about this. And just a reminder of don't let that arrival syndrome hinder you, because what are you missing out on potentially by not being open-minded and listening to something that could change the trajectory of your finances and the finances for future generations to come?
Okay, so yes, absolutely. So I want to bring up a second point that Dave Ramsey often makes, is that infinite banking is too complicated for most people. His advice seems very intentionally simple, get out of debt, live on less than you make, and avoid complex or gimmicky financial products. So this is sometimes the things he says, it's think about what you're saying before you say it. Oh my goodness. But
yeah. Don't call people stupid.
Yeah, exactly. But it's it's kind of like saying, okay, well, if you want things to be simple all the time, I guess we might as well all just stay in kindergarten. What are the different grades for? It's to build up on the next thing.
Yeah.
It's not too complicated, but it does take time.
Well, and we talk to people in all walks of life. We have clients that come to us when we are gathering information and we're walking them through an application process. The list of debts sometimes goes on and on and on. Then we have somebody that might come to us and they say, we have zero consumer debt and we have X amount in savings. You know what? Those two clients get treated equally the same. They get spoken to equally the same because they deserve it. They both deserve it.
Well, and the learning starts at the same space. We all need to start somewhere. And is one worth learning about? Absolutely. It all takes time. Even what he suggests actually all takes time. Right? And who... Yeah.
Well, it takes time and if he says infinite banking's too complicated, you know what? If you're buying term and you're investing the difference, who's managing those investments? Are you doing that? Most people aren't doing that themselves. So you're giving over that control of your hard-earned money to to someone else. So, I mean, pick your complicated, I guess.
Yeah. And okay, this also comes back to the same principle too, right? Like allowing someone else to manage like your portfolio, because there's also a subsection of people too that don't want that. They want control over their own portfolio. But for those of you who just understand that if you are handing over and you're just choosing, oh, I want conservative, I want mid, I want like high performance, right? And you are basically handing over it to a portfolio manager per se. You have to be consciously aware that you are choosing to give your control to someone else for the performance of your money. And in another way, I know it sounds more harsh, but it's called abdication. You are abdicating your role in your own result of what you will get. And so that will cost. That will cost, especially in the times where you end up losing. And it does. There's going to be times where you lose and then you have to sort of stick in with it again until it goes back up. But that's also giving up. Again, that feels more convenient, but then that's not the same thing as taking part in your own result and taking control, which is not convenient, but it does take effort. So the IBC counterpoint to someone who is thinking like Dave Ramsey and says, oh man, IBC is too complicated, right? Well, infinite banking is about long-term wealth. Like you were saying, it's about legacy, right? If you care about legacy, and it's also not a quick fix product. So it's not gimmicky at all. And it's also time tested.
Very time tested. And let's just face it, adulting is not always fun. I mean, it's not like.
But it makes it better when you have a system. And the fact is, IBC is a system. It will actually free you from having to always guess how you're going to manage your cash flow. And that's another distinct difference between Dave Ramsey and infinite banking concept, is because we don't talk about budgets. We talk about the management of our cash flow. Right. Those of you who know and feel like, oh, money is energy. Yeah. It flows in, it flows out, it flows in. And so it's the management of our cash flow. And if you constantly actually adopt, I actually hate the word budget. Like,
I know. I know you do.
Throw it away, because it's such a disempowering word. 1 month you end up breaking your budget because there was something unforeseen that you had to deal with. Oh, and so now you feel like shit from breaking your budget, and now you feel like, how long is it going to take for you to get back up, depending on your mood or whatever's going on in your life, to get back into interacting with budget, right?
Yeah. So here this episode's getting long, but this brings up another point. When we talk about budgets or we talk about meal plans, if we are truly engaged in our finances and we're in there at minimum once a week, we know what we have coming in, we know what's going out. If we are so in tune, and the other part is if we are content in our life and with what we have at that moment, the word budget really never comes up for me, because 1, I'm content, and 2, I know what I have coming in and going out, and I know whether I can afford XYZ when I go to town. Like, I know whether that is a smart purchase, a dumb purchase, it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. So when you practice something like infinite banking and you're so heavily involved in it and you just get into this flow of things, I mean, there's freedom in that. I have freedom in knowing what I should spend and what I shouldn't.
So coming back down to, again, because we just went on for weeks and weeks on human nature, right? Like human nature is something that it's not permanent, right? You can change your nature if you'd like to. Because there's definitely times in my life, like I wouldn't even be here today if I didn't decide to change my nature. If I didn't decide, like, I'm done with being in debt. I'm done with having to constantly struggle. And I'm now ready to thrive. So you have to know yourself. So right now, like infinite banking, Dave Ramsey's perfect, because if you need someone to coach you on handling just like your own self-discipline on budgeting, and you're struggling with budgeting, Dave is exactly the right person you need, right? To talk to you about that. IBC is for people who are ready to play offense and not just defense.
Yeah. 100%.
With their money. Okay.
Yep.
And also you have to take into consideration, I know this is getting long, but we're encouraged to actually talk longer. So, let's just get used to it. The other part is Dave doesn't actually trust the life insurance industry for whatever reason. Okay.
Interesting.
Which plays to how many other people feel. So is it like he comes across that way? So I can't really say for sure, but for all the things that he's talked about publicly, he verbally acknowledges out loud what a lot of people are thinking.
Yeah.
And plays to that. I don't trust insurance. And the word insurance itself is such a big thing, right? There's travel insurance, there's health and dental insurance.
And unfortunately, it all gets grouped into the same bad reputation. And so, again, defeating that arrival syndrome and being open-minded to learn about something new.
So to this though, I just want to, because this is all about like speaking to people who just love Dave Ramsey. And here we are making a case to say, hey, right? But to those certain pieces he often says he's long criticized the life insurance industry actually for overselling policies to people who don't need them, focusing on commissions, and marketing whole life policies as investments, which they are not in the traditional sense. Okay.
Well, I could speak to that first point you made. Selling people insurance. What was the first point? Reread that.
Overselling policies to people who
overselling policies,
don't need them. Yeah.
Okay, we can't do that. We're governed by the Alberta Insurance Council. We have to adhere to their regulations and be compliant. So I can't just sell a policy to somebody who doesn't need the death benefit.
Yeah. What I think, he talks about that, but I think what also comes to point, and this is why I'm also bringing this up, because when I was at this homeschooling event, someone came over to my table from Primerica. And people who are in Primerica live and breathe their philosophy, which is buy term, invest the difference, and are wholeheartedly against whole life. And in fact, many people from Primerica who are fully engaged and ingrained think that we are criminals for offering whole life insurance. So again, this is about a difference in philosophy, and even our own financial industry in and of itself. We have to like all of you who are thinking about what should I do with my money, you have to first recognize that there are different financial models, financial philosophies in place. And it's the first thing you ought to do is think about what philosophy do I want to pursue to eliminate and simplify your time in searching for what it is you ought to do with your money. That should be the first thing that people do, because kind of like Nelson always talked about, like tune out the noise. So the quickest way to tune out the noise is get in tune with yourself first.
Yep.
So,
and only you can do that.
And so overselling policies is, I hate that saying because it is so limited in what that means. There's not enough context to it. It just sounds like a really good soundbite. And personally, myself, for everything that I've seen Dave do recently, it's like he's doing it to gain the following.
Yeah, right? I see that too.
It sounds really good. And so overselling policies compared to what is he saying?
Well, and you can't we can't force somebody to have a policy.
Oh yeah. No, we can't.
We're not forcing people. We present what we know.
But do you know what I mean? Like overselling policies, that is a direct verbal response to buy term.
Yes.
Right? Because they're saying, term insurance is so cost effective.
Right.
Instead of spending X amount of dollars on whole life, take the extra, like the difference of money you would spend from term to whole life and actually invest it into investments instead.
There's so many different ways to structure a whole life policy. I saw one last week with a client that, in my opinion, no, it's not serving him. but it's not structured the way I would structure it or the way you would structure it. And so, no, it is not going to benefit him in the way that this client thought it was going to. So this all comes back to, who's your advisor? Are they authorized through the Nelson Nash Institute? Are they trained to do what we do? There's so many variables. There's so many.
Like focusing on commissions. Okay, good Lord. This one really pumps me up too, because for him saying that marketing whole life policies as if they're investments is just actual bullcrap, because especially for us I can only speak to the infinite banking community, because we do so much education. Like, come on, we're at almost close to 60 episodes now, right? Books written, right? And I will tell you that anyone who is a full-time authorized IBC practitioner, the experience with us is so different than with a traditional person who does term and investments.
Yeah. It's a process, not a transaction.
It is a lifestyle. It's not a lifestyle to buy term and invest the difference. It's kind of like set it and forget it. Check in once a year, make sure you're still contributing, see how you're doing, see if there's all of those pieces, right? So it's very much a disciplined process, just like Nelson Nash really focuses on education over sales. Yeah.
This has been a hot topic that we've wanted to cover for a bit now. So I'm glad that we finally got to talk about this. And we encourage your questions, comments, feedback. We are doing a very exciting webinar series all through the summer, all the way until December. We're going to take the month of December off. Every other week, Wednesday at noon, Mountain Standard Time, you can join us and hear a really cool story about farming and ranching and learn about infinite banking concepts. So head over to our website, ranchyourway.com. You're going to see a registration link right up at the top of the page. And you're also going to be able to purchase the book on that website too. So thank you for listening. We would love to hear from you. Bye for now.
So glad you leaned in with us on the WinEH podcast. We truly hope you're feeling more informed and empowered to take another step towards optimizing your financial life. Right now, make sure you hit subscribe so you can keep growing and learning with us. Until next time, we wish you prosperity in every area of your life.